In 1976, the Viking 1 space probe took pictures of the surface of Mars. For the most part, there was nothing unusual except for this picture. It appeared to be the shape of a human face carved into the rock on Mars. Could this be a statue that aliens have created? Could this be a way for aliens to be communicating with us? Unfortunately, neither of these things. The Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter in 2007 took a picture of the same place, just to reveal it to be an insignificant piece of rock. This is called Paradolia, the effect where humans see patterns and things that are basically just random. An example of this could be seeing faces where there aren't any. Does this have a face? Does this? Does this? It seems all we need are two little dots and a little line beneath it in order for us to recognise that is a face. It seems we're hardwired to recognise faces. That's essentially how we communicate. We look at people in the eyes. And that's also how we express emotions in our current state. If someone's happy, we recognise it. If someone's sad, we recognise it. And animals seem to experience that to some extent as well. When your cat is hungry and wants you to feed them, where do they look? They look you in the eyes. And there seems to be a direct correlation between anthropomorphic qualities and our ability to relate to them. We're more likely to relate to a monkey than we are to a beetle. So if we plot a graph where the y-axis is our ability to relate to something and on the x-axis is the likeness to humans, it appears to be proportionally going all the way up and up and up and up until a slight dip just before the end, and then it comes right back up again. This little dip is called the Uncanny Valley. On the top right, we can have things such as the host in Westworld. They are designed to look exactly like humans, talk like humans, and bleed and suffer like humans. But the whole purpose of the park is to create this illusion in this world. You kind of want the host to be on the far right of this graph. Now on a production level, this makes things a whole lot cheaper. It's cheaper to hire an actor to play something rather than have heavy prosthetics for seasons on end. But it helps us, the audience, relate to the hosts. We need to be invested in their struggles emotionally. If they were crude robots, we wouldn't have the same emotional experience as we have watching the series. Data from Star Trek, he's clearly not human. He has an artificial skin tone and yellow eyes, yet he's made in the form of a human being because he's made by a human. Even though he's more crude than the host in Westworld, he still elicits emotions from the audience, even if he doesn't experience them himself. Despite him being a cruder robot, he doesn't fall into the Uncanny Valley. He still resembles humans in a lot of key ways, like facial proportions, body proportions, skin texture, hair, which is keeping in Star Trek because a lot of aliens have various different things glued to their foreheads or ears, like Klingons and Vulcans, that we still accept them as aliens. We don't necessarily believe that Klingons or Vulcans exist, but we are willing to set aside our disbelief, and the same goes for Data. Alright, let's go right to the bottom there. We might get, say, I don't know, a pebble right at the bottom, but we start to introduce other items. Let's say a sponge. A sponge doesn't really resemble a human, at least like a square sponge, but if you add a face to it, you get a long-running kids TV series. Now let's look at Homer Simpson. Aside from his yellow skin, he does resemble humans. He does have a similar body proportions to a regular adult human. Probably the exception will be the larger eyes, but that is more to elicit an emotional response from the audience. But things like his balding head, his larger belly, they're things that humans experience anyway. Compared to SpongeBob, he is a lot closer. Now let's look at Pixar films like The Incredibles. Often the scenes are rendered in CGI with photorealistic lighting. And while the people are not necessarily photorealistic and we'll never mistake them for people, we do relate to them. They tend to have over-exaggerated proportions, especially in the head. And in the head, the eyes are often a lot bigger, like with Homer Simpson. Now humans tend to relate to characters more with larger eyes. This could be due to babies having larger eyes proportionally, and in order to get us to protect our young and continue the gene pool, we need to relate to babies more and protect them. And with larger eyes, you can express a wider range of emotions. In an animated film, you want to over-exaggerate a lot of things, and having larger eyes is a great way to do that. Rendering a photorealistic human being is hard. As stated before, we're hardwired to see human faces, yet we're also hardwired to see if something is wrong, if something is off. It can be a little thing, like the lighting or facial proportions or the movement. If we see something off, we're generally off put by it, and this is the effect of the Uncanny Valley. An example of this could be cats. Now, the actors are in costume, but it's not really sold to us like that. Their skin is morphed right into the skin of the cats, and they have the fur that's seamlessly integrated into their skin. It's really well done, yet it doesn't quite come together. You look at that and you can't help but just sense that something is off. It's hard to put your finger on it. Like, they're supposed to be cats, but we see a human face. They're supposed to have some sort of cat movements, but they walk and talk like human beings. It just doesn't quite work. Not quite human, but not quite cat either. CGI has come a long way in recent years, and who can say what's going to happen in the next few years with the new advancements? It's just fascinating, really. But how real is too real? And do we really need to get completely real with this? When SpongeBob was looking for Gary, you automatically emotionally react to that. And if you didn't at least get misty-eyed when he was looking for him, you're not even human. I don't even care. But we don't need to emotionally invest in a human-looking cat. We already are emotionally invested in cats. But I'd say we don't need things to be as realistic as they can. Sure, stories like Westworld and Blade Runner need human-looking robots in order to fulfill the story. But if you're doing it for the sake of doing it, I would say that's a bad idea, personally. Thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.